intro stuff, and I'm finishing my meal. So
Is that a
sorry.
Capri Sun?
No, man, it's a little applesauce packet.
Is that a
I was
baby
like,
food thing?
I am not sponsored by Mott's.
is he sitting on a Capri Sun right now?
That's the secret, man. That's the secret. You got to get that. Oh shit, I can't say that. I know Shane Gillis, the comedian,
Yep,
Yeah.
love
the,
him.
the Down syndrome jokes,
Oh yeah.
grilled cheese and Capri Suns.
Mhm. Beautiful
Yep.
dogs.
That won't make it in the podcast.
No.
Um, Automatic cancellation.
Lives. You know what I mean? Like if I tell people, if I'm like, yeah, I have family members with Down syndrome, people that have never been around it are always like, oh. Like Down syndrome is the fucking end of the world. Like, oh. Are they okay? Are they doing okay? It's like, they're doing better than everybody I know. They're the only dudes I know having a good time pretty consistently. Sorry they're not on fucking Adderall and anti-anxiety like the rest of us. They're on fucking Capri Suns. Having a good time. Dude, my Uncle Danny sneaks grilled cheese sandwiches into restaurants just in case they don't serve grilled cheese sandwiches. I don't know where he's getting these fucking things. It's the
Let's
best.
do it. Hopefully my dog doesn't start losing his mind at some point. I closed him out, but he's a
Mine already is, so don't feel
Yep.
bad.
sweet.
Same here.
All right, well, let's do this with we'll just kind of introduce ourselves. So, Joe, why don't we start with you and work our way back down to me?
All right,
I
that
think
works.
I think you're the freaking tallest, biggest dude on here. So
Facts.
I might have you by a hair. I'm not sure height wise.
you got me like by 15 pounds too.
Yeah, I'm sitting around like 290 right now, fasted. So we're
Jeez.
getting there. Yeah, I'm Joe Davis. Been a pro for a little over a year now. Got my card at the same show as Dom and Universe 2024. About halfway through an off season right now. We shut it down after Dubai Pro this year. Did Dubai, Pittsburgh, and New York. They're all massive, super competitive shows. Definitely tier one pro shows, and got my ass kicked, but it was fun. It was what I expected. Well, didn't really have any expectations. So yeah, going into this off season, trying to grow and hopefully be a little more competitive next year.
Nice. James, tell the people who you are who don't already know.
Yeah, right. So I'm James Anthony. I'm Class Physique Pro. I've been in pro for almost 2 years now. I turned pro at the 2023 National Championships, winning Class D, obviously the tallest class. So, but yeah, I like Joe. Like I'm about to start my improvement season here shortly, and then the idea is to see at the end, where the progress is at, and if it's good enough probably start a prep for shows next summer or next fall. Or if necessary, I might take the whole year off next year. It depends how that goes. So I'm not going to sit here and say, this is the plan. This is exactly what's going to happen, because you guys know how life is and how bodybuilding is. You plan things and then it completely goes another direction. And
Yep.
so I learned a long time ago not to just put things in the stone. So, but yeah, that's me.
Nice. You actually hit on something that we probably should talk about later. Because I'm still trying to get this schedule. I'm like, when are we gonna
Right?
schedule for next year, man? I would like to be able, because this speaks to a point that I think probably more than less are living as people who are competitive bodybuilders. All three of us have careers,
Right.
right? We're not full-time bodybuilders.
Coaches.
Yeah.
It's a
So
hobby at the very most for me, unfortunately.
an expensive hobby at that.
Expensive
So
hobby, yeah.
so yeah, who am I? I'm Dominic Carter, Dom Carter. As Joe noted, got my pro card at the 24 Universe. That was actually my second show, so I'm still really new, I think, to this. And then I just followed Joe around. I was like, what are we doing next? Let's go. So we did Pittsburgh and then we did New York.
Yeah.
All three of us did.
All three.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys bailed on Dubai. I don't know what was up with that. But
I'm not going to Dubai, man.
I had
Yeah.
enough. I'd had enough whippings. I was like, Dubai's going to be just murderous.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's crazy.
So yeah, I did one more show after that, but it was not. I thought it was going to be a smaller show. It turned out to be not. But
Yeah,
it was good.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, yeah, I did
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Um, we can talk about all that stuff if we want if you guys want to get into it. But I thought it was a good first year as a pro. Um, Relatively speaking, you know, there's guys who go out there and their pro debut, they're qualifying for the Olympia.
Right.
That's not me. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Uh, and for people who are seeing this, you know, what's driving? Well, why did we decide to do a podcast? Well, if you didn't pick up on it, we're all classic physique guys, and we're all on the taller side of classic, right? So all of us got our pro cards in the tallest class, um, and with
6'2" or higher.
yes, that's right.
6'2" or taller, you can't sit with us.
Yeah, this you have to be at least that tall to ride this ride. So we you know, we all have caught up at various times either backstage or on Instagram and just messaging and stuff. And the idea was, you know, there's a perspective that you don't get that much of. And that's this perspective. What is that experience like? Like for a tall guy to fill out their frame, for a taller guy to be competitive in that division. And this isn't to segregate or say that we're better or worse or anything of that nature. It's just to give you kind of our take from that seat. What is that?
Different perspective.
Exactly, exactly. So that's the idea. Not you know we're not trying to make this you know short guys versus tall guys. Granted, you know I know we get a lot of the giant killers that are coming out there trying to get us, but that's okay. So with that being said, that's what the idea is. We don't have to get into a history lesson on classic physique, but this all started very different from what it looks like now, right? You know, classic was never a thing until recent history. I grew up, my dad threw us into to bodybuilding. Like we had all the magazines, we were watching all the videos. He competed when I was a little kid. There's some VHS out there somewhere with me yelling daddy and he steps out on stage. So for me, I've been following this to some degree for most of my life. So I remember the Albert Beckles in the magazines. I remember the names that most people, you know, the Mendenhall, the names that most people don't think about, who I think played a role in shaping what we call classic. Um, Even like Serge Nubret back in the 70s. So I guess the question is, what do we think classic is now anyway? Like how do we kind of get to the point where we are that to define this, or are we still trying to shape what is classic? We still not really know.
Well, you know, if I had to say what that is, in my opinion, I think um, it's still undefined, and there isn't a set. I think there's certain things that make someone quote unquote classic, but I don't think there's a certain structure, a certain height, certain weight. I don't think there's a strong defining thing that makes somebody classic, right? So, um, you know, you brought up a lot of names from the past. I'm a historian too. I grew up on the Arnold pump and iron stuff and you know
Yeah.
all that. You know, I you're speaking my language when you're talking about that stuff. So, but like you look at those guys from back then, they were all different too. Like yeah, they had a lot of camaraderie, but they were all different too. Look at Arnold and Franco.
Oh yeah.
Completely different physiques, completely different heights. You know, that was the first thing I thought of when you brought up those names is Arnold and Franco were so different, but they if you brought them from then into now, people would look at them and be like, those guys are classic,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
they're completely different physiques. So that's why it's so hard to say, like, oh, what is a classic physique? Well, there are certain things that make you look more classic, but there's not a clear definition. I would say the things that would make someone quote unquote classic looking would be the first thing I think of is the waist taper, right? You got to have a small waist that has a taper to it. So from the back down to the waist and then from the legs out. So it's like an X shape, right?
X, yeah, the X
So
frame.
so so that tiny waist as much as you can is the thing that I think that would make someone look at you and say, "Oh, that's a classic look," right? The streamlined waist. And then other than that, I would say just the symmetry and the proportions that you bring to your physique. So like if your arms and your legs match, like there's nothing overpowering about your physique. Like you don't have one body part that's like super developed and then overpowers everything else. Those freaky kind of attributes to me belong in the open, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there was anyone in the 70s and the 80s and those eras where a lot of classic was seemed to be derived from. I don't think there was any of those guys who had like a one strong body part that just took over their physique. Everybody was streamlined in their own way. But I would say that just the streamlined physique and the tiny waist is what would make somebody classic, in my opinion.
What do you think? What do you think, Joe? I think you were getting ready to jump in there.
Yeah, so I pretty much agree. I kind of describe classic. It depends on who I'm talking to. If it's like a coworker or a friend, I say, look at the physiques from the 70s. That's kind of what they emulate. I don't think that's really what the criteria is, but it gives an
Yeah.
idea that they're smaller. They're smaller than the open guys.
Yeah.
Um, I think at the end of the day, the criteria is really similar to bodybuilding, but we have a weight cap, obviously. So that limits how big we can be. And I think there's greater emphasis on balance, on symmetry versus the sheer size because we can't have the sheer size given our weight cap. And then other than that, I think that emphasis on presentation maybe is a bigger thing in classic than it is in bodybuilding. And you can see that when Urs stepped into the open, he was so much more polished than everyone, and his presentation was so much better, which did catapult him up, I think, as far as his placing went a little bit, maybe. But I think because everyone's emphasis in classic on their presentation is so high that becomes a bigger criteria with the judges.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point because well, you're the immediate response to that, I would imagine, is going to be, well, you're not judged on your posing round and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, your posing routine isn't judged,
No.
but that is carrying over into how you present yourself in comparisons and in your individual routine that is judged.
Yep.
Because case in point, you look at Chris Bumstead and you couldn't pick apart any of his poses. He was hitting those poses as close to perfect as I imagine you could get. And it used to be a highlight that people would call out about him.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because when you have a weight cap and you can't rely on, oh, I'm gonna overpower other people in terms of size, you have no choice but to squeeze every ounce of potential out of your physique, whether it's through presentation or otherwise. That's you have no choice. There's no extra edge you're gonna get um, by saying, well, I'll just come in bigger. So, because ultimately you hit that weight cap, there is no bigger. So, to James's point, when you look back at the older generation of bodybuilders, like, 60s, 70s, 80s is when you started to see the transition. Dorian shows up and he starts to, become a name, and then obviously in the 90s, he did what he did. But up until that point, they reminded me, if I had to compare those like Lee Haney like physiques to today, to and unfortunately he's passed away. Uh his name is slipping my mind. He was an army um
Cedric,
Cedric, thank you. Yes, Cedric McMillan. And
yep.
and he had articulated that. He made that very point. He's like, I look like what I want to look like, which is like those guys. Because the critique was, oh, you need to come in harder, you need to come in like this. He's like, but I don't want to. I want to look like that.
Yeah.
And those guys didn't come in looking like, what this current era looks like. And so to me, kind of it's you guys both touched on this, and I think classic exists in both open and obviously within classic. It's
Mhm.
just the biggest difference is the emphasis in the weight cap. And what's happening from what I'm seeing is classic is now bleeding into open. They want to see that in open. So you look at Martin, he brought classic like conditioning, and you look at Urs and his classic like presentation, they're rewarding that. That's what they want to see.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not saying gone are the days of Marcus Rule and the giant monster like dudes. But they're not getting the level of I don't want to say attention because everybody wants to see them. But they're not getting quite as rewarded necessarily as what we used to see. So, and especially when you mention waist control.
Yeah,
Um,
I was gonna say that's been huge lately. Look like what 6, 8 years ago were any open guys pulling vacuums?
no,
Now at
not at
least
all.
50% of the first call out or more is pulling a vacuum in their front double.
Yeah.
So,
And and yeah, that could get into like a I don't want to call out names or be negative or anything, but we were at Pittsburgh.
yep.
Um and
I already
Nick
know where
looked
he's going with this.
yeah, look, Nick looked awesome. I ain't gonna lie. I'll just put it out there. I thought he was gonna win. I thought he was gonna win.
Yep.
But I heard the feedback and I heard some of the critiques. And those critiques didn't exist 10 years ago, 15 years ago that they
No.
were hitting on. And it's like, yeah, the tide is kind of turning. And so all that to say, what we're doing in Classic, I think, has had a bigger impact than just within our own division.
Yep.
So I guess that kind of takes us into the whole, well, okay, so one of the biggest differences between Classic and Open is you guys got a weight cap. Um, we do. But Joe, I've talked to you about this. I don't know that the weight cap is standardized in such a way that I can quite grasp the how did we come up with this? Now, obviously, it's changed over time. It used to be less. It continued to kind of grow and get larger.
Mhm.
Um, what are y'all's thoughts on the weight cap? Like, I'll tell you mine right now is I think at our heights we need a little more room. Now that being said, I do now understand and recognize that sometimes what you see isn't really what you think it is.
Mhm.
So when I would see some guys on stage who were a little shorter but looked absolutely dense, I assumed they were at their weight cap, not over their weight cap for their height. So to be fair, maybe that's influenced my perspective.
Bias.
Yeah. Yes. But what do y'all think about the weight cap? Do you think, I mean, just in general,
Joe, you want to take that? You want me to?
Yeah, I got some thoughts on that. So I don't know if you all were. James was definitely competing back before they gave the bump in the weight cap. What was that 3 or 4 years ago? I don't know if you were Dom.
yeah,
Right when
I
they
was here for
bumped
the
it.
last one. I was here for the
Okay.
last, yeah.
Yeah, so that bump was intended to make it more fair for short people, I believe.
It
But I
was.
think they completely overcompensated because there was like heights between like I want to say like 5'7" and 5'8". They got a 10-pound bump. Guess what I got? I got 1 pound.
Yeah.
10 pounds
Yep.
on 5'7" is like 15 at my height, 20 pounds at my height, and I got 1 pound. So I don't know. I think they overcorrected personally.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think tall guys, if they fill out their structure, typically overshadow the small guys anyways. I mean, look at Terrence. Terrence is
Yeah.
insane, and I just don't know if he can beat a guy that's taller than him at the Olympia because the guys are just so good, and he's just 6, 8 inches shorter than them. So,
Yeah. I
uh,
know he still has room in his cap.
yep,
So I wonder what that would look like if
Yeah,
he
because
completed
they've
that.
asked him multiple times if he's going to go to the 212, and he goes, "I'm not even close to my weight cap in classic yet, so why would I do
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that?"
yeah,
Yeah. That's
yep,
that's yep.
You guys have seen me. I've said multiple times because that's one thing I'm pretty outspoken about is calling people out for not making weight.
Yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
shows. I think it's super unprofessional. I think that's the number one priority in your career as a pro and classic is until check-ins are over, you got to make weight. And the three of us, I know you guys remember this. We were at check-ins at Pittsburgh. We were the first three guys there. And
Yeah.
why do you think that was? Is because we're like, ah, shit, we got to make weight. And Dom, I remember you brought a scale to prejudge to the check-in,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, can I borrow that? And like, you're like, go ahead. And I used that like twice because I was checking myself in the restroom,
Yeah.
and up until right before check-ins, I weighed in I think 1.5 or 2 pounds under, but I was nervous as hell all morning. So um, you need to make weight. You can't rely on them hiding you liberally, like they used to apparently. Like they're going to be pretty strict with it moving forward because of all the blowback they've got on it. So um, really what it is guys have to reconcile their goals with the expectations of the divisions now. So if the expectation of the division is you have this weight cap, and if you can't compete in it, then you probably need to go to open. So if guys want to be classic, that's fine. But you also have to understand if you're having such issues where I can't make weight, I'm having to suffer unnecessarily to make the weight, like you probably need to go to open at that point. That's the signal that like, hey, your body wants to grow, your body wants to be bigger than the weight cap, your body is screaming at you, I want to get bigger, but you're harming your look by trying to get under that weight cap. I've seen multiple guys have issues with their look because they're pulling all that weight off. And those are the guys that are going to the open. Look at Urs.
Yeah.
Urs obviously had an issue. And he even said that was part of the reason he went to open was because he was having an issue with his look coming down, not being as good, and then suffering unnecessarily to get down. So I think there's quite a few guys in Classic that need to reevaluate if they need to be in Classic or if they need to be in Open. And that's just based on the fact that they grow so much to the point where it's like, is making that weight cap worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I thought of as you were saying that was Urs. Um, I was not a believer at first. I was like, there's no way in this short span of time. But the only reason that I did have one because I had met him, and I talked to him a little bit. Where was that? I can't remember. I think that was at New York.
He was at New
Um,
York because I met him at New York after
Yeah,
the show at the diner, and
I
that dude
s-
was huge.
he was huge, and I
He
thought,
was
well,
huge.
dang, maybe, but he had a bunch of clothes on, so I thought maybe he's just softer, or I don't know.
Mhm.
And then when he showed up, I was like, oh, okay. He was clearly losing muscle tissue to keep to make weight
Yeah,
because that kind of jump, obviously the muscle memory was there. So it seemed radical to us because how did he grow so fast? Well, he had had that tissue before. So he obviously was losing it to just make weight. And yeah, I agree with you, James. That's this whole thing where you don't it's not like you don't know. I don't want to I don't want to take for granted. Okay, I get heighted every year because I'm in the military. I have to do body composition assessment before I do my physical readiness test. So I know what my height is. It's not like a surprise, but I would assume that most people, certainly as adults, know what their height is.
Exactly.
This whole
You
thing,
know what your height is, man. Like
yeah,
everybody who's like, oh, I got heighted incorrectly. Blah, blah, blah. You know what your height is, dude.
I-
And I'm just calling BS on that because all those height. I don't even know what those tools are called. The height weight tools where they have to paddle. They're all the same. Every single one is the same. I mean, they might look a little bit different, but it's all operated the same way. It's supposed to go flat on your head, not just touching your hair. It's
yeah,
supposed to be,
yeah,
it's supposed to go flat on your head. And if you're gonna say your height is something you're not, that's on you. Everybody knows what their height is. So you need to go based off of that. into the show. Like, I need to be this weight, and there should be no surprises. But there keeps being these surprises, I think, because I don't know if guys were getting heighted liberally or I don't know what it is, but there's been this past year and then actually recently quite a few big name guys having issues making weight. It happened at the Olympia. It happened this past weekend,
I was
actually.
just gonna say,
Some
yep.
big name Olympians, and I'm like, these guys know better, and I don't have any sympathy for those guys because they know better.
Yeah, maybe they were used to getting a little bit of leniency.
Yeah.
And then the other argument I hear all the time is, well, I'm right on the threshold of weight one and weight two, or height one and height two. Then prepare for the shorter one.
Yep.
Yeah.
That, like,
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm at like 6'3 3/4, so I'm never going to be below the 6'3" threshold. Maybe one day I'll get the 6'4" one and get extra weight.
Yeah.
But the surprise should be like extra weight. Hey, you can be a little heavier. I know that's
Yeah.
what you were doing, Dom, because you were worried you might height in a little lower
That's
at
yep.
Pittsburgh, and then you were prepared for that lower weight, but you ended up making the higher height. So
Exactly.
you're good.
And I don't know if you guys have heard about this medieval stuff that people are trying to do, or they're
upside down.
inversion tables where they're trying to like stretch their body to like get
Yep.
taller. I'm like, does that work? Isn't that what the Knights of the Round Table did back?
Now that's probably the least extreme version. There are guys who have talked about doing far more extreme measures to guarantee they'll be whatever height. But I have an inversion table. There's things like there's spinal decompression techniques. You know what? We need to get Dr. Mike Riley on here. He's a classic pro.
He's pretty tall.
He's a chiropractor.
Yeah, he's around our height. He's allowed. He's allowed in, right?
6'4".
Yeah,
Actually, he's probably taller than
There you go.
everyone in this
He's
group.
he's big. I met him. I went to the same gym he was at and met him when I was visiting. Yeah, I was going up there for Universe for a friend of mine, and I went and trained there, and he was there. I was like, oh shoot, we finally met. He's not a small person. So he had talked about some of this before. And as a chiropractor, obviously he's skilled and trained in how to do these things. And he had a video showing it was like cervical decompression. And there's a whole lot of other things that people can do. Um, at the end of the day, I look at it as okay, the more extreme you're going, what risk? Now, in that case, he's trained and knowledgeable in what he's doing, and he has the equipment and whatever. In most cases, for the rest of us, um, I'm I'm not willing to go beyond my inversion table, and the inversion table for me just feels good. Is it actually making a difference for me? I don't think so. I haven't noticed. I don't bump my head on stuff because I suddenly got taller. I'm not sitting up higher in the truck, you
Yep.
know, having to adjust my mirrors. But um to Joe's point, like I know, and this is where it becomes controversial because they talked about okay, and it's on our pro cards what our height is. It looks like that's going out the window, right?
That's what I've
Um,
heard. Yeah.
So you're gonna have to weigh in every time, unless you do the Olympia, then that height sticks for the next Olympia. But otherwise, it sounds like we're gonna have to weigh in or height in every time. So I'm not gonna sit here and chance it on, am I gonna be that extra quarter inch like I was the last time they heighted me in? Because I don't want to be in not gonna say names. I don't want to be in the position where I gotta drop a whole weight class to make weight or two weight classes to make that's not even going to be possible. So at that point, you're sacrificing your health because you're already bone dry, fat free when you get to weigh-ins, and now they're going to tell you got to drop extra weight. Well, how are you going to do that?
That screws your whole peaking process up too. Like
Exactly.
maybe you could actually lose that weight if it was part of your plan.
Yeah,
Still peak pretty well. It might not be as good of a look as if you were 10 pounds heavier, but at least your coach is on the same board. They know what to expect. Now you're in the sauna 12 hours before the show, it throws
Yeah.
your peak right out the window.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to fill it back out somehow without ruining the look. And you don't, it's not like we have a ton of time to do that.
No, depends
So
on the show though. That's another inconsistency I've found
yes.
when weigh-ins are.
Well, that kind of segues into, there's a lot of people who want to get into bodybuilding or competitive bodybuilding,
Mhm.
and they're not aware of they don't know what they don't know, right? What is it? What does the behind the scenes kind of look like? You go to a show, well, not all shows are the same. They're not all run the same. Um, you guys have more experience on stage than I do. What would you say to someone who's trying to understand what that world looks like? Like you go to a show, um, I know what my few experiences have been, but from y'all's perspective, what would you say?
Are we talking about like a newcomer, Joe? Like what to expect as a brand new person in the sport?
That's what I was just going to interpret it as. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say is, you have to look at it as why do you want to do this? That's the first thing. People need to understand why they're trying to do this because it's going to get hard. There's times in the sport where you're going to question yourself a lot. You're going to wonder if you're doing the right thing, if it's a waste of time, if it's a waste of money. There's a lot of different things that are going to come up, and it's going to get difficult. So think about why you're doing it, and then when you get to the show, it's a pressure-packed environment and situations. So when you're backstage, the biggest thing is just relaxing and putting your feet up and then just trying to stay calm and collected until it's time for you to start warming up and pumping up and getting that peak process going so that in that 5 minutes potentially or maybe more that you're on stage, you're presenting yourself at the most optimum look that you have. So it's a very complicated process that's in a very small window.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah. And the other thing I would say is when be prepared, bring more stuff than you need backstage. Bring a hoodie, bring something you're gonna be cold, you're gonna be fucking tired. Get some headphones, take a nap, and don't get too anxious. They're gonna try to rush you to get on stage and get ready. And I know that's their job because a lot of people miss their stage time because they're a little too laid back, but you got time when you're backstage and you really don't want to be standing up in your trunks with no shirt, no pants on 30 minutes before you're going on
Uh,
stage. You want
Yeah.
to stay warm. I actually saw something on Instagram the other day and I thought it was pretty interesting. A guy was bringing a blow dryer backstage
huh,
to
I've seen
like
that.
heat his body up and get like the vascularity out. And I was like, that's actually a really good idea. I wonder how well that actually works. Because like I think
That's
about like when I get
interesting.
out of a sauna, how crazy vascular I look. So I don't know.
See, that that is interesting to me because so I remember Universe, and that was probably the first thought I had was, dang man, they lined us up, but I could have run and
The
taken a
bodybuilders are
dump
still
and
out on stage.
yeah, I mean like that was so, but the whole hair dryer thing and heating getting yourself warmed up, get some
Yep.
vasodilation back and have some more vascularity.
Mhm.
I guess my concern would be if I did that and overdid it, am I going to start sweating off my tan? Am I going
That
to
too.
start dehydrating?
I think you need to make sure you're dry if you're going to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's interesting.
Yep.
Um, so I won't get into that is because you guys have way more experience than I will just echo what y'all said. Probably the biggest takeaway I've seen so far is timing. Being
Yeah.
chill, being relaxed, absolutely. That's a given. Stress will absolutely wreck your look and everything you worked for. You could be on the day of the show, you stress out and it's all for nothing.
Yep.
Maybe that's extreme. It gets ruined pretty quickly.
Yeah. You
Um,
can change your look in 5 minutes. It's crazy.
oh yeah. Yeah. So um I had a so are you coaching anybody? You have any clients?
I got some lifestyle clients. No one bodybuilding or anything like that. But one guy maybe wants to step on stage in 2027. So
So I started doing the same thing. I don't promote it a lot because I want to, for two reasons, keep it relatively small.
yep,
I told myself I wouldn't take on more than 5 to 6 people at a time. Um, and that ties into the other reason. I want to have a firm foundation before I start taking on 20, 30, 40, 50 people. And there's obviously, scheduling concerns. I have a job and whatever, but so I started doing that, and I've had a few guys who want to compete. Um, and I've come to discover and learn, partly through experience and partly because I have a mentor, um, that it is absolutely way more psychological and mental than it is physical. I didn't think of it that way for myself.
same.
Um, I guess maybe I just didn't spend enough time thinking about it, but I have come from what I've seen with the several people now is I spend more time having to try to shape their behavior or their mindset. And sometimes they don't want to hear that, right? Sometimes you gotta, my mentor told me you gotta tell them, you gotta just like have that come to Jesus talk. Uh, Listen, you ain't locked in, and what you want ain't gonna happen like this, and they don't want to hear that. And the physical stuff as a coach is a lot easier for me to manipulate, right? I can make this a lot more viable for you. It doesn't have to be chicken and rice and almonds or whatever every single meal, right? That's silly. I can make this doable for you and less miserable, certainly in the off season. Um, and and that makes the kind of physical part of it from eating much easier. But then I find that, oh, that's not the problem. The problem
Mhm.
is up here. And I was just telling Joe, the coaching for me, and it sounds like it's the same for you, Joe, is like this big, right?
Yeah,
Relative to the
yeah.
rest of life.
I
It's just
currently have two lifestyle guys, and one's losing weight, so he gets a little more time because, you know, I don't want to over diet him or anything and stress him out. The other
yeah,
guy's just kind of in an off season, so it's pretty minimal changes on a week to week basis. It's checking in once or twice a week, making sure everything's going good, they feel good, but it's not even anything close to being like in a prep for a
yeah,
bodybuilding show. That's a whole nother level of coaching. Like my coach was not sleeping the entire peak week for me. He just
yeah,
and I was the only guy he was worrying about at that time.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So I've only had one guy I took into prep. We were 4.5 weeks out when he had to pull out.
yep.
I won't say his name. I don't think anybody would know him. It was his first show. Um, he shattered a tooth and then cracked the one behind it. When I say shattered, I did not request this picture, but he was kind enough to send me a picture of the inside of his mouth. That thing was just like it looked like somebody set off a firecracker. So I was like, well, we can still we can still push through this. You're just gonna have to drink some meals, but I need to know what your dentist says. And so long story short, we just pulled out. Um, he was way early. He was way ahead. He
Yep.
was shredded. He was already fat free. Um, he looked really good. He was probably going to do very well at the show. But you're right. Why I'm bringing this up is because, again, kind of segueing off of, hey, this is what it looks like behind the scenes. This is what it looks like as a competitor going into a show, prepping for a show. It's not about perfection, but I described it this way to someone. Um, I'm aiming for perfection, knowing I can't attain it, so that when I fall short, I'm more than good enough,
Mhm.
right? I am ready. I'm as ready as it could possibly be. I realize that folks don't see what we're living through as bodybuilders. And it's not like it's some kind of oh my gosh, woe is me. This is, I'm special or anything like this. This is what we chose to do. But it's new to them and they think they want something, but they're not actually sure what it is that something is.
They want the look.
Yes,
They want the look, but I don't think they have any idea what it entails to get that look.
none. Usually no idea whatsoever,
Yeah.
right? Like, I've seen James post, videos or content. I remember, shoot, dude, I remember after Pittsburgh, you were so hard on yourself. You were beating yourself up.
Yeah, it's something that was a little personal for me because I'm from Pittsburgh. So like
Yeah,
that Pittsburgh Pro, that was a big deal to me doing my pro debut there because you only get one pro debut, right?
that's
So I
right.
wanted to do so I wanted to do it in Pittsburgh where I'm from and uh underwhelming performance getting 12th. So it was just one of those things where you have expectations, right? And then you fall short of those expectations and um that's how we became pros was having those types of expectations. So
Yes.
it was just one of those types of things, and you move on and move forward and try to get to be better. You know,
But
Yeah.
that attitude highlights the difference between the guy who comes to you and says, I want to look like you, or I want to get a pro card, versus the pro who actually goes out there and he says, for everybody watching, underwhelming. He looked good. Okay.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
still looked like a pro. And when he says 12th, how many people were in the show, James?
20, 21.
It was over 20. It was definitely over 20.
Yeah, it was over
Um,
20.
so that wasn't bad, right? Um, and the quality of that lineup was ridiculous. I forget how many Olympians were in it.
Quite a
Um,
few.
yes. So uh I think we that's the hardest part I've had trouble with conveying to new people who come and say, "Hey, can you coach me? I want to get a pro card." Is understanding like the consistency and the discipline that are required. And it's not even at this point, I don't know if this is the case for you guys. I don't think about it anymore. It's just kind of automatic. Oh, gotta eat. Oh, it's a high day. It's gonna suck because I'm not hungry, but I gotta eat. It's, it
Yeah.
just is what it is.
Yep.
Um, so even like the again, it goes back to that psychological, mental kind of thing where I'm setting these goals and I have this visualization that's happening in my head. And it's not even just about the posing. Like most people think visualization, oh, you're visualizing what your posing routine is gonna look. No, I'm visualizing everything.
Mhm.
It's always playing, it's always going back in there. And to James's point, and what he didn't highlight, I'm gonna highlight for you, man. He overcame the setback as he saw it and went and did New York. It was New York, right?
Yep.
Yes. And met or if not exceeded his expectation he had set prior. Because New York had who in it? It had Terrence, like that show.
Jose Ma.
Yes.
Mhm.
They had
Richard.
Richard Nagy from
Yep.
overseas. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
That
had quite a 24, 25 guys in New York.
yeah. I
I think
thought
that
Pittsburgh.
top three or four for New York was the same top three or four for Pittsburgh. It
It,
was
it was. It
yeah.
was. So, that's just part of being a professional. I don't even just say in this sport, it's in general. That's the mindset you have, and it has to exist before you get there.
Yep.
Mhm.
People think, oh, well, when I become a pro, I'll do the things that the pros are doing. You've got to be doing that just to get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I didn't mean to go on. I got all excited over that because I've recently had some conversations around that point, and I needed you guys for therapy to kind of close that out.
Yep.
All right.
So so yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, the mental thing is tough. I think it takes a while. I think I developed it slowly without even really realizing it. When I first,
yeah.
because my first show was in 2018, and then I didn't compete again until 2022. COVID happened. I bought a house. I had shit
Oh
to do,
yeah.
and but I think I slowly developed that discipline with the food and the bring. oh, we got to go do this today. Okay, how long am I going to be out of the house? That means I need 2 meals. I'm going to bring 3 just in case something, changes and we get delayed. Um, the training schedule, I don't want to, I don't know about you guys, but I would say at least 40% of my workouts I kind of don't want to do. And then I get halfway through them and then I'm happy I'm doing them. But like, I got to drag my ass to the gym most of the days. I'm up at 5 a.m. I don't get home till 9 p.m. most of the days because I work the full-time job. I got to go to the gym. Do you want it or do you not want it? That's the stuff you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, that last sentence, that's it. Do you want it?
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like I got to be careful how I frame this. We'll just say if somebody, okay, if somebody were to say, I want you to tell me something, and you're like, are you sure? I don't think you really want me to tell you the truth about this. No, 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 I want to know. I want to know. And then you tell them, and their world crumbles and their head explodes and whatever. And it's like, see, you didn't really want me to.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that's kind of what it is. It's like you tell me you want this, and then when I give you what you got to do to get it,
Yep.
you don't want to do it. You want to be able to have your, maybe this is poor, you want to have your cake and eat it too. There ain't no cake in prep, man.
There's not.
And so, there are exceptions to the rule, right? You got guys like Jamie Christian who he could have a pizza in prep because he needed 10,000 calories a day. But he was an exception to the rule. He's like 6'6", open bodybuilder.
Yeah.
That's not you. That's not the average person or even the above average person. So guys have a hard time with accepting the reality is what you're saying you want and what's required to get there um, may not actually align with what you're claiming. Uh, and so yeah, that mental part is huge and developing and I don't want to make it sound like it's miserable. I'm not ever really miserable. I mean, obviously when you get, 2 weeks out and you're trying to make a weight cap, it ain't
Yeah.
exciting. Um, Sitting there at weigh-ins like, man, I haven't eaten in the last 12 hours or whatever.
Like Pittsburgh.
Yes, like Pittsburgh. And you're just waiting. You're like, God, I got this meal sitting in my bag beside me.
Ready to
Please
go.
move this along. Um, that's not fun, but you know, these are moments. These are just mere drops in the bucket compared to the grand scheme of things. Um, so yeah, I don't want to hammer that too hard and beat that horse to death, but those were some things that had come up that I have these conversations with guys who say, yeah, I want to do this thing and get my pro card. And
Well, here's the thing, Dom. It's those guys who are saying like, "Hey, I want to do this." So it's like, do you though? Like, because you have to understand like what that's going to entail, and you can say you want this now, but when it gets hard, like, is it still going to be the same? And I can't want this for you, right?
exactly.
You have to want this. I can't want this for you. I can't call you at 5 a.m. to wake up and do cardio. I can't call you every 2 or 3 hours to make sure you eat your meals. I can't do that. You have to want this, right?
Yeah.
And I can't. That's the thing that gets lost on a lot. Oh, I'm just going to hire a coach and everything's going to be okay. You still got to do your part. Like that's not the. There's no magic pill to this.
Yeah. No. And I think there's a level of humility that has to come with that, especially when you have a coach. You have to be able to say, you constantly hear trust the process, right? That requires humility because a lot of folks think, especially nowadays where we're in this information age and everything's just a keystroke away. Oh, well, I'm a Google this, I'm a YouTube that, I'm a Reddit this, and they think they know now. And it's like, well, you hired this person who's not only got the experience, but is still actually doing this stuff. And they're telling you this is what I want you to do. And every time you do that, they come back with, oh, well, I saw this. Can we add this in there? What do you think about this drug? Or what do you think about? It's like, oh my gosh.
Well, if you're the
Listen,
expert, man,
I,
take control. Do it. We
And
had
another thing with that is people are listening to too many other people instead of their coach. Like
Yes.
you hired a coach for a reason. You're paying this person for a reason. Like you should be listening to them and only them. There should
Yeah.
not be there should not be too many cooks in the kitchen. You know what I mean?
That's right. You have 5 people in here adding spices and seasonings to this dish. And now we don't know what the hell is the cause of the problem or what led to what, right?
Yep. Yep.
And not for nothing, oh, this one I love to death. Well, my last coach said,
Oh boy.
well, then you go back to your last coach and tell me how that works out. Oh, we already know
Yep.
because that's why you left him.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
those things are probably par for the course, but it just comes with the territory. But it's something that I think people need to understand that
Yep.
there is a process to this. If you bring somebody in to lead you or guide you through the process, trust them for the reasons that you went to them to begin with.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so all that said, because I don't want to be negative, and when every time I think about that, I think about all the bodybuilding media that exists.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to say the name. There is one that is at the top of the list that I'm like, God, man, you guys couldn't be any more negative and condescending if you tried. And what does that achieve for us? We're the athletes doing this stuff, right? So I leverage that viewership, that I don't want to say viewership, that observation to help drive me and say, you know what, I am going to aim to be more positive. I'm not an innately positive person. I'm going to just put that out there. I am constantly fighting what I would call pragmatism. I don't think I'm negative. I'm just keeping it real. I'm a realist.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, real doesn't sound positive.
Nope.
Nope.
But that being said, that's the direction that these kind of media outlets seem to be going is, well, I'll get more views if I, crap on somebody and make it look like, something that it's not. I'm like, this isn't ESPN, dude.
Ah,
You can chill, right? You're a self-proclaimed authority in this domain. So it's not like you have the credentials to back up why you should be telling us any of this anyway. Why I should even believe what you have to say or trust your observations over. You don't even have any analytical tradecraft. Okay. So those, why am I bringing all this up? Because I'm hoping that if we keep doing this, I don't go in that direction because I don't I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I do want to have some means by which we can see our community become better as athletes, as you mentioned before, James, back in the 70s where you had that camaraderie, that pump and iron kind of feeling where you're like, these dudes are having fun. You see these guys in their element, excelling, having fun. A lot of them still had jobs. It wasn't like what you see today. They weren't making a ton of money from bodybuilding. And they were doing what I think a lot of people thought of getting into this would look like. What are y'all's thoughts on that whole kind of, I guess, the environment in which bodybuilding exists now from a media landscape?
I
Yeah.
think
James, don't hold back.
I think the media in bodybuilding is a good thing. I think getting more exposure, getting more views, getting more involvement from that standpoint is a good thing. Like when you see shows go on, you want to know how it turned out, how people did, right? You want to hear about it, and then
Absolutely.
nowadays you get frustrated when you're like, where's the photos? Where's the coverage? Where's the summary? Like what happened with this show? And like you don't know, and it's frustrating. So it's a good thing, but I think it's a bad thing in that. They sometimes tend to cover it like you said, like an ESPN kind of thing, and there's a lot more that gets involved in it than just, oh, how did this person do, right?
Mhm.
There is an entire process for that person leading up to that show that is not talked about, like what they went through, all the things that they had to deal with, and then they only get judged on the end result, right? And I think that's the part of the media where I think they're a little too harsh on some people. And I'll, you said not the name drop, but there's a
Oh,
specific bodybuilder.
you guys
Um,
can name drop. That's
there's
just me.
there's a specific bodybuilder that was very hyped up heading into the Olympia this year, and everyone was saying that he has a potential to win the title. He could get up to the top three. Who knows? And this individual didn't do that well.
Yeah.
And there were multiple reasons behind that. They said coaching and the peaking process and all that stuff, but um, some of these guys get hammered in the bodybuilding media when they don't do well, and that's the part where I'm just like, you don't know what the circumstances of that person's prep was like, their life was like, the
Yeah.
process going into that show. There's so many things that you don't see other than the placing.
Right.
And that's where it's like, I think the bodybuilding media goes a little bit too far sometimes. And they create narratives sometimes that I think are a little unnecessary to cause unnecessary drama. And
Yeah.
so I think it's a good thing and a bad thing. But if I had to say ultimately, I think it's something that needs to get better and continue, because you don't want it to go away. You want to keep exposure there, but there's ways to make it better, I think.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, the media thing's tough because what's going to sell? These clickbaity,
Rage
negative,
baiting.
negative rage baiting
Yes.
type stances. It's the same way with everything. It's the same way with the news that you see on the TV. It would be nice if it was more positive, but I don't see anything ever changing about it. So I think that as a high level athlete, like there's different levels to this. Like no one knows who we are, but you
Yeah.
get up to the high level pro, there's an expectation that you're gonna just have to get used to, that your name is gonna be in the spotlight. You're gonna have a lot of haters. Maybe just don't read the comments. Maybe don't, you know, let's Bumstead said it best, pressure is a privilege, right?
That's right.
You gotta reorientate that perspective. And people, bitter old people that competed in the 90s that couldn't win Mr. Olympia are going to be negative about everyone because they're still sour about never winning their Mr. Olympia
That's a
25,
fact.
30 years ago. I
That's
won't
a
name any
fact.
names, but
I'm not gonna. Yeah. I'm gonna leave that
We
one
already know who
alone.
that is.
yeah. But at the end of the day, you're at the top of the mountain, and people are going to be trying to push you off, and that's part of the mental aspect as far as I'm concerned. You just got to be tough and roll with the punches. And I don't know, it's not an easy position to be in, but I think that's the position everyone wants to be in this sport anyways. You want to be at the top, right? That's why we're all competing.
That's true. Oh man, since you said that, the way you said that made me think of something. All right, this will be it. I'll close it out with this. If you could rewind time, let's say we're all 22 again. All right, you get into bodybuilding, and let's say classic exists. All right, you can choose. If someone asked you, what do you want to do? You want to be an open bodybuilder, or do you want to be classic? What do you tell them? What do you pick?
Classic all day long.
All right. What do you got,
I
Joe?
think I think I would say classic as well, because even to this day, I still can't imagine the food that I would need to eat
Yeah.
to be a competitive open
Yeah.
bodybuilder. I
Yeah.
have a hard time tying my shoes right now. I'd have to be 80 pounds heavier if I wanted to be
And finding
putting work
pants.
yeah,
Oh, dude, yeah. Yeah.
stretchy pants for the win.
Yeah.
And I guess that's part of that behind the scenes thing people don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you're getting heavy and it's off season and you're 280 something pounds, or in Joe's case, 290 something pounds,
yep.
and it's like, yeah, you see me and you think, oh man, that's awesome. Look how big this guy is.
Mm.
And I'm like, dear God, how am I going to get up all those flights of stairs? Is there an elevator around
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I don't
And
want to get
38,
off the
34s,
couch.
baby.
yes, yeah, yes. Like the waist is just, whatever. It's just hanging
Them
on.
38s.
Like my butt cheeks and my thighs are holding my pants up. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, So cool, man. This was fun. I'm glad we did this. If you guys, want to do it again, I hope we can. Maybe at some point we bring in some people. I'm definitely, you know how this goes. If we do this again, uh, I do want to get Mike on here.
Yeah, I gotta get Mike
Um,
Riley on here.
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
yeah, he's smarter than I'll say he's smarter than me. And he's a cool dude and he's huge.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, this was fun. I appreciate you guys taking the time out and till next time.